They got a low appraisal. They're not going to come up. What do we do? Do we drop our price? And if it's only been on the market 3 days and you believe that it's worth that, I would tell that first buyer, go find another lender, because there's a really good chance you get another appraiser out there and it could come in. And if not, then walk and wait for the next one, which is what you did. And 2 days later, you made an extra $25,000.
Yeah.
Right?
That's a huge profit alone, $25,000.
Yeah, that represents a ton. So, what did you end up asking? So you were all in at about $450. What did you end up asking?
So we asked $569.9.
Wow. Killer. And you got it.
We got it.
Welcome to the BiggerPockets Best Deal Ever show. I'm your lovable host, Ken Corsini, who with my wife, Anita, have flipped over 800 houses in Atlanta since 2005 and even have a show on HGTV. But this show isn't about us. It's about all the amazing real estate investors out there that are crushing it. It's about their stories, their best deals, how they sourced them, how they funded them, and what we can learn from their experiences. This is the Best Deal Ever show. Hey, this is Ken Corsini with the Best Deal Ever show. On today's episode, I am joined by Kara Beckman. Kara, how you doing?
Good. Thank you so much for having me.
Hey, glad to have you on. We were just commiserating on the fact that you're in Scottsdale, right?
Yes.
And it's what, 75 degrees there right now? Probably perfect.
I'm in a light sweater and I'm hot.
You're hot. Yeah. I'm in a flannel shirt and I'm still freezing because it's like 35 degrees in Atlanta right now.
Yeah. We're not used to that. I don't know what that feels like.
Yeah. Although it was funny. I was in Phoenix this summer. It was August actually. And it was almost unbearable. It was 117 degrees when I was out there.
Yeah.
I don't know how you guys do those summers.
It's hot for sure.
It's a little bit brutal. Yeah. Now, so being in Scottsdale, you are in a hot real estate market right now, right? I feel like you guys have been booming for the last couple of years.
Yeah, definitely.
So what is that like? So you're in the fix and flip space?
Yeah, so I primarily do fix and flips, and I've been accumulating more rental properties, and I plan to grow my rental property portfolio this coming year as well.
Okay. Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
So it's funny because I've got a handful of buddies that are in Phoenix right now, and it feels like there's just a lot of competition. Are you feeling that in terms of acquiring properties to fix and flip or even to buy and hold?
There's definitely a lot of competition, but I've never been worried about that. So when you start saying there's a lot of competition, I can't find deals, there's no deals to be had, I think you're putting on blinders. And more than likely, you're going to miss a deal that's sitting right in front of you because you're too scared to make the deal happen. So I haven't been afraid of that. I'm still not afraid of it. And I'm finding deals a lot.
That's awesome. That's a very good attitude to have because a lot of people probably start freaking out. Where am I going to find my next deal? And I like the fact that you got confidence. They're there to find.
They absolutely are.
So what's your strategy look like? How are you acquiring properties out there right now?
So I have a few different strategies. I get deals from wholesalers. I still find a lot of deals on the MLS and I'm turning good profits on the MLS. I always say, never be afraid to make an offer. You never know someone's situation and how low they're willing to go just to get rid of their house. So with that being said, I get a lot of deals on the MLS. I still find deals on Zillow, wholesalers, and word of mouth.
Wow, man, that's amazing. So most of the stuff you're getting on MLS, is that stuff where maybe it's been out there for a little while and you're just making lowball offers and getting them?
Sometimes, yeah. On my newest rental property, so excited about this property. I found it on Zillow. It's in a neighborhood where I do a lot of my flips. And I thought this has a lot of potential and it doesn't need a full-fledged renovation. It needs a kitchen update, bathroom updates. So I know there will be less money going into the deal. Yeah. So I made an offer $30,000 below ask. They just rejected it. They said, we're not coming down at all. So I said, no problem. I'm not coming up. 3 weeks later, I saw it was still on the market. So I told my agent, let's put in another offer. I did come up $6,000 on my offer, but I asked for more seller concessions. So I asked for them to pay for my appraisal and to cover some of my closing costs, and they accepted it.
Are you serious?
So even though someone says no at first, keep trying. If it's still on the market 3 weeks later, submit another offer. And I just got the appraisal on that house before we started construction. And the appraisal came in $70,000 more than what I purchased it for.
Are you serious? That's amazing.
And that was on Zillow. So they're still out there.
Well, it goes to show you that people's motivation changes and can change dramatically over a very short period of time.
Yes.
Even 3 weeks.
Even 3 weeks. Yeah.
That's crazy. So tell us how long you've been in the business and what's your volume like?
So I've been in the business for 2 years. It will actually be 2 full years this month. Cool. And I've just purchased my 11th property.
And all of those, for the most part, up till now have been like fix and flips?
I've done 7 fix and flips and 3 rentals.
Oh, very cool. And so how's the rental market look out there? Because, it seems like you're sort of not necessarily the top of the market, but it's definitely higher than it was. I mean, are you cash flowing pretty well right now in Phoenix?
All of my rental properties do cash flow. The location is extremely important. I have a rental property near one of our biggest universities, so I constantly have tenants in there. And you also are going to make your deal even on a rental property when you're purchasing. So you need to buy low, especially if you plan to put some money in to do the improvements.
Yeah.
I also have a rental property near a very popular airport, so that rents very fast. And all of my rental properties do cash flow.
Man, that's amazing. Well, yeah, and being near a university helps a ton. Are you putting students in those houses?
Yeah, all
Are you?
students.
Really?
With that property, it was big enough to add a 4th bedroom. It was originally a 3-bed, 2-bath.
Yep.
So I converted a very formal dining room into a 4th bedroom.
Smart.
Because for our college kids, they want a lot of room. So I was able to ask more rent because of that as well. So finding opportunities.
Totally.
That helps.
Yeah, and hack the house if you need to fit the market.
Exactly.
That's killer. And I'm super intrigued with student housing. I think student housing can be a boom for if you're in the right market. Do you do it by the bedroom then and get like parental guarantees and all that stuff?
I don't. I go through a property manager, and I do want to have 4 tenants, but the past 3 years that I've had this particular rental property, because I purchased this rental property as I was still working my full-time job. Gotcha. Before I went into real estate full-time. But for those properties, I rent it by the house. So Gotcha. Usually there's 4 friends that rent together.
Let them figure it out.
Is responsible for paying the rent.
I gotcha. Yeah, that's a killer strategy. Well, very cool. So over the last couple of years, you've been at this full time. It sounds like you've got the 11th one under your belt. Out of those 11, is there one that stands out as your best deal ever?
Yes, for sure. For sure.
All right. Tell me about it.
Okay. So this deal was my first wholesale deal. So up until this point, I was purchasing off the MLS and word of mouth.
Mm-hmm.
So this wholesaler contacted me. There might be a lot of wholesalers watching this. So what drew me to this deal? This wholesaler had emailed me a number of deals, and they weren't in areas that I knew. They were far away and just didn't fit my criteria. I say yes to a lot of things, but I say no to more. Yeah. And the subject line on this deal was the zip code that I'm familiar with. So I could analyze this deal in under a minute. I just had a house under contract in this zip code less than a mile north of this home. So I knew that the price per square foot he was asking was awesome.
Wow.
I knew that his budget to renovate was off, but even with knowing that, I knew that his ARV, his after renovation value, was also off. So I ended up selling it for a lot more than what he was projecting it to be.
That's rarely the case. Usually wholesalers are going to inflate their ARV. He was actually low on the ARV.
Right.
That never happens.
Low on the ARV and low on the renovation.
Yeah, low on the renovation's pretty typical, but usually low on the AR or high on the ARVs the other way.
Right.
Interesting. So this would just happen. You just knew the zip code, you knew your numbers, it came across your desk. And so what did that look like? Had you ever worked with this wholesaler before?
No, I've never worked with him before. I had never worked with any wholesaler before.
Okay.
So it came through on a Saturday night at 11 o'clock at night. And I emailed him. I said, I'm interested in this property. And he said, okay, great. I'm showing it to a number of investors tomorrow, Sunday at 1 o'clock. So Sunday comes, I'm there, I know my numbers, and I am so nervous for this deal because wholesale deals move fast.
Oh, yeah.
Putting down a $10,000 non-refundable down payment for any reason. If you change your mind an hour later, sorry.
Yep.
So very nervous. So I walk through, there's probably 7 other investors walking this property. And I couldn't have an inspection, so my inspector wasn't there. The house smelled horrible. You could tell there were a lot of cats that had lived there.
Yeah.
Even when you opened the slider, it was full of cat hair.
Oh, yuck.
It smelled bad. The pool was bad. We have a lot of stucco homes in Arizona, and stucco was just falling off. There was clear water damage throughout the home on the roof, and it was a flat roof. So I knew there was money that had to be put into this renovation. Yeah. So we run the numbers. It makes total sense. And he said, okay, great. Do you want to sign? And I'm thinking, oh, it's just so fast. It was a 10-day close. And I was nervous. I was really nervous to do this. And he said, well, let's run the numbers again. So we run them again, and they make perfect sense. So I said, okay, let's do this. So give him the check. And at this time, I still had no idea how I was going to fund this house fully.
Sounds like a real estate investor. You're just gunslinging out there. You're like, put it under contract. We'll figure it out after the fact.
Exactly. I thought, if nothing else, this deal makes so much sense. I have one under contract that's supposed to close in 7 days. So it was cutting it really close. Yeah. Everything was going smooth on my first transaction. But if for any reason it didn't close, I thought, I don't know what would happen, but I couldn't risk not doing this deal because it made so much sense.
Now, were you competing against the other investors that showed up? Did you have to like bid it up or anything?
No, there was one gentleman that was there, and he's on the phone with someone walking around the pool. And it was basically whoever wrote the check first gets the house. And I knew it was between me and him. I mean, we were there the longest, and I said yes. And then the wholesaler called me that night, and he said, just so you know, that guy tried to buy it after you did, and you got it.
Wow. Yeah. So, and that is the trick. You have to act quick. You know, I will say this for wholesalers too. It's a great strategy to do a showing where you get a lot of people there, because it does sort of create the sense of urgency, right? Oh, I'm sure you felt it.
I'm very competitive, and I want to win. And so what I think other people want that, it does give you this sense of urgency that you want to make the first call, but you have to be smart about it for sure.
Yeah. So that's good. You kind of thought through it. You knew your numbers. So what did you end up putting it under contract for?
So I ended up purchasing it for $364,900. And he was estimating a $50,000 remodel. When I flip a house, I don't even necessarily love the term flipping because I put so much into the home. Yeah. I love the design of the house. And so I usually have a certain price per square foot that I know my renovations will cost me. Yeah. So I was estimating this renovation to cost me about $85,000.
Okay.
With that renovation, I knew that I could ask for the highest comp, which I just had under contract on my last house that was in this same zip code.
Oh, was it close, like neighborhood, or just kind of?
It was just one neighborhood north of this.
Okay. Yeah. So you totally knew your numbers on your other house.
Yep.
Gotcha. And so how did you end up funding this deal when it was all said and done?
So thankfully the house before it did close successfully. So I was able to pull that money out and fund this with cash.
Oh, nice. Oh, very cool. So perfect. So you're kind of flipping cash from one house to the next, and it just happened that this lined up perfect for you.
Exactly. So every profit I have, I'm compounding it, turning it into my next property.
Are you using any sort of private lenders or hard money, or are you just using your own cash right now?
No, I definitely use private money lenders, especially for a scenario like this. So if I couldn't fund this house with cash, I'd have to bring in private money lenders. I have 2 local private money lenders who will lend me on a much lower interest rate than my hard money lender.
Yeah.
And then when I'm using a lot of private money on different deals, I will fund it with hard money as well.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So I've done a few deals with hard money, private money. And when I was working full time, I was able to flip them with conventional loans.
Oh, wow. Really?
Kind of missed that.
Yeah. The only thing of the conventional loans is they don't usually give you money for the repairs. So maybe they buy the house, then you're out of pocket for the repairs.
Right.
And they don't love it if you turn around and sell it within the first 6 months. I'm sure you got some pushback.
Yeah, I didn't know that at first. I sold the house, and then my lender called me. He's like, I didn't know you were flipping this house.
Yeah. We have a mortgage company ourselves, actually. And it's funny. We'll like make people promise us, do not sell it in the first 6 months. And inevitably some of them do. What are you going to do?
What are you going to do? Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. So you estimated $85,000 in repairs. What did you end up spending, and what sort of repairs did you guys do?
So it was a full-fledged renovation, a full gut job. I opened up walls, put in structural beams, new flooring, new designer tile. I did do a full new pool plaster, pool tile. I did smooth stucco on the exterior. This was a full-fledged, beautiful remodel. And I came right in at budget. I think I ended up spending about $86,000 on this renovation.
Dude, that's phenomenal.
I have a lot of spreadsheets that I use. So for every house that I'm remodeling, my spreadsheets are constantly updated. So I'm very, very tight on my budgets.
Smart. And you build in some contingency in your spreadsheets? Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yes. So this one needed a new rolled roof because it's a flat roof.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah. And I knew there was water damage. I knew there were things that we were going to have to address. So yeah.
So $86,000, which puts you, what were you all in then on this house?
So all in, I was at It's actually my renovation cost was $85,615. So that's exactly what
$615 over budget.
Yeah.
That's phenomenal. That's actually fantastic.
Thank you.
And then you're all in
$364,900.
$364,900. I got you. So you are all in at, I can't do my math that fast, 70, 64 is mid fours, somewhere in there, call it.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to pull my calculator out and figure it out. We'll just say mid fours. And this is one that you were planning on flipping?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so how did that all shake out? How long was the renovation? And then what'd you do? Throw it on the MLS?
So this is amazing. So I have a great crew. I run a tight ship. But we completed this house, the full renovation, just under 6 weeks.
No way.
The house went under contract in 3 days, full ask. I was blown away, so happy. And then the appraisal comes in.
Yeah.
And it comes in $25,000 under ask.
Ooh.
That's not right.
Yeah.
I mean, I know these numbers. The house is great. We have comps to support our asking price. And so we're going back and forth with this appraiser, and he said, no, that's what it is. It's $25,000 below, what these new buyers are willing to pay. And I asked the buyers if they could come up. They wouldn't. So we canceled the deal. 5 days into the house being on the market, I did have another offer come in, again at full ask. And since we had that second offer, I was more comfortable with letting go of the first offer.
Yep.
Her appraiser came in and appraised it at full ask. So that's so tough because you can know your numbers, you can have a beautiful renovation, and sometimes it's left up to the appraiser.
Yep.
In this case, it worked out well because, I took the risk of letting go of the first deal, not knowing what the other appraiser would say, but luckily, it did appraise full ask.
This is such an interesting point because we run into this all the time, and it's always this decision point. Okay, they got a low appraisal, they're not going to come up. What do we do? Do we drop our price? And if it's only been on the market 3 days and you believe that it's worth that, I would tell that first buyer, go find another lender because there's a really good chance you get another appraiser out there and it could come in. And if not, then walk and wait for the next one, which is what you did. And 2 days later, you made an extra $25,000.
Yeah.
Right?
That's a huge profit alone, $25,000.
Yeah, that represents a ton. So, what did you end up asking? So you were all in at about $450,000. What did you end up asking?
So we asked $569,900.
Wow. Killer. And you got it.
We got it.
And this was your cash. So you didn't really even have, and you were only in it for like 6 weeks. So you didn't have much carrying cost.
So the best part, from the day I purchased through the renovation to the day it closed, it was 1 day shy of 3 months.
That's phenomenal. That's phenomenal because that's a massive renovation, $86,000 renovation, and you're in and out in less than 90 days. That's amazing.
Yes.
You must have some killer crews or you're just like whipping them the whole time. Something. That's amazing.
They call me a velvet hammer.
I believe it. Yeah. You're whipping them into shape, keeping them on task for that size of a renovation.
For sure.
So you cleared net at the end of the day. What'd you end up netting after commissions and closing costs and whatnot?
So after commissions, closing costs, I ended up making $89,000, $132.
That's phenomenal. In less than 90 days.
Yeah.
And what year was that? Was that in the last year or two?
This was 4 months ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
oh,
this
man.
just happened. Yeah.
Dude. And again, and what I feel like is what I've heard is a competitive market. You bought from a wholesaler and made $90,000. That's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Good for you. Okay. So let me ask you this. So there's folks listening to the story right now, and you weren't doing anything crazy in terms of how to acquire off market, this and that. You went through a wholesaler. Mm-hmm. You had your stuff, your crews and your rehab numbers on point, but you sold it traditionally. What sort of advice would you give somebody that wants to get into this game and they want to the path of least resistance, but to still make a good chunk of change at the end of the project? What advice would you give somebody?
I would definitely say know your neighborhood. This goes back to this wholesaler. Now we've done a few deals together, but before he was sending me deals in neighborhoods I was not familiar with, and there's no guarantee I could have turned these numbers in an area that I don't know. So I would say know your neighborhood. I would also say it's okay to start small. This was a bigger renovation.
Yeah.
But you can still make great cash on cash return on smaller properties.
Yeah.
And know your neighborhood, know the style that you want to renovate. More importantly, know your numbers, especially if you're going to be working with a wholesaler.
Yeah. Well, the other thing, it sounds like to me that you focus on high-end finishes. A lot of investors want to get in and out with as little amount of money as possible.
Right.
What's your philosophy on that?
For all of my homes, I truly want someone to walk into the house and feel like they could live here.
Yeah.
I want it to be special. Every property that I've renovated, it's a property I would feel comfortable living in.
Yeah.
I love to have designer touches, and I think you can absolutely do that on a budget. And at the end of the day, budget is very important. We're flipping houses, so we are trying to turn profits, but you can do it in a way that's smart. So kitchens are a great way to spend money. So maybe you do a beautiful kitchen backsplash, and then you scale back on your hall bathroom tile. So there's ways to kind of stretch the dollar, and you really don't know the difference.
Yeah.
A lot of custom things too. So I've been doing these custom kitchen hoods. So it looks very expensive, very luxurious, but it's much more inexpensive than purchasing a beautifully done hood because we're making it on site with my contractors. So
we do the exact same thing with our vent hoods. I mean, you can save a ton of money if you've got a decent carpenter to build one for you.
Yes. So things like that are fun because it looks like I mean, you're creating value. It's something that no one has.
Right. Absolutely. Well, and if you're focusing on like a specific area, maybe even a couple of neighborhoods, you start to develop a reputation, especially if your finishes are really good. Do you feel like some of the folks in the area are starting to recognize your flips specifically?
Yeah, people will send them to me and they're driving by and they'll say, "Did you do this house?" And I have a Starbucks barista and his wife follows me now on Instagram.
Yeah.
And she'll say certain things like, "Oh, that looks like a Beckman house." So that's pretty cool.
Very cool.
Yeah.
That's a great way to grow a business, especially if you're focused on one area. Is just build a reputation.
Right.
Very cool. Well, Kara, this was awesome. Talk about a great flip. I mean, in a competitive market this year to turn $90,000 in 90 days is fantastic. So kudos to you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks so much for coming on the show. We'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right, take care.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Best Deal Ever show, brought to you by BiggerPockets. If you've been energized, entertained, or enlightened by today's show, please feel free to hit the subscribe button. You can also follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Ken Corsini, or check us out online at redbarnhomes.com. And don't forget, one man's best deal ever may be the inspiration you need to create your next best deal. So, hope to see you on the next episode.